Small Stories from Life Part 3. Here is the first story, Fill Your Life with Love. We all want a life filled with love, but very few people have the habit of making an effort to achieve it for themselves. Why don't we take the initiative to find and unleash love instead of waiting for others to bring it to us? Love and people themselves are the same. We have the right to actively attract it to ourselves. We can narrow the gap with our chosen attitude, as well as good behaviors and willingness to approach the other person will bring us closer to the goal. Love is everywhere in our lives. We often lament the lack of love without realizing that we ourselves are not open to inviting love. Look into your heart and take responsibility for unleashing great love, loving yourself and loving others. One door opens will lead to other doors opening, and new winds will fill your soul. As you take the first step on your journey to find love, you will discover new things and a different desire for your heart, in which the more you give, the more you receive. When you focus on becoming a loving person, you will find that you have a lot of love in your life. You will have the opportunity to discover the greatest secret of life. The reward of love is that the more you give, the more you receive. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the second story, have a generous outlook. Have you ever heard someone or yourself say, "Don't blame him, he doesn't know what he's doing," and if you really act like that, then you are having a generous outlook on other people's behavior. It's great if we can be open to everyone, even those whose behavior hurts us. However, this does not mean that you are willing to ignore all wrongs, pretend that everything is great, allow others to make mistakes, justify or approve of the negative behavior. Then you need to look at and evaluate them with kindness before having any reaction. For example, when you see a postal worker working slowly, you tell yourself that maybe he is having a bad day. When your wife or husband or a close friend makes you angry, try to understand that behind that momentary action are the good feelings that you have built together, and it is still there, and above all, they really love you, and want you to love and be generous with others. It is much simpler than you think. Start practicing today and you will see and receive the good results it brings. Be generous. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the third story, Understanding Different Realities. If you have ever traveled abroad or watched TV, you must have clearly noticed the huge differences between different cultures. The principle of the concept of different realities states that the differences between individuals are extremely large. We do not expect people from other cultures to behave the same way, so according to this principle, the differences in the way each individual perceives or handles problems are also not the same. However, the problem is not simply recognizing the differences, we also have to understand and respect those differences. Once we understand and apply the above principle to life, we can eliminate all arguments when we expect to see things differently, accept the certainty that other people will behave and react to the same agent in different ways. The sympathy we have for ourselves as well as everyone will increase significantly. If we only expect the opposite, the possibility of conflict will also occur. I encourage you to deeply acknowledge and respect the fact that all things are different. When you do that, your love for everyone as well as your appreciation of your own uniqueness will increase. Respect the differences. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the fourth story, Compassion. Openness or compassion for people is the source of building an attitude of life for each person. Compassion is a deep sympathy for people, willing to put yourself in the position of others, temporarily forgetting yourself to understand people and learn how to love them. Through that, you will better understand the difficulties, suffering and despair of others, things you have never experienced in the process of recognizing problems and helping others. We simultaneously open our hearts as well as strengthen gratitude for others. Compassion is a form of emotion that you can develop by practicing it, including 2 stages of intention and action. Intention is the initial stage that needs to remind you to open your heart to others, and action is the stage where you will carry out that intention. You can show compassion in something as simple as donating some money, time, or both to help someone in need, or sometimes just smiling and saying hello to someone on the street. It's not what you do, it's whether you do it. Mother Beth Tarr once said, "We cannot do great things in this world, we can only do small things with great love." Compassion also helps you increase your gratitude for others by taking your attention away from the little things that most of us tend to overthink. When you take the time to reflect on the little miracles in life, the gift of sight, of love, and all the rest, they remind you that many of the things you think are big are really small things. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the fifth story, life is a test. One of my favorite quotes is that life is a test, and it is only a test because if it is true, you will always be guided to do the right thing. And I have learned a very interesting lesson for myself when I look at life and its challenges as a test. Every problem I face is an opportunity for me to grow, an opportunity to learn to be compatible with adversity. No matter how busy your life is with challenges to deal with or even insurmountable obstacles, if you look at them as a test, you always have a chance to succeed by overcoming the challenges. On the contrary, if you always take everything seriously and see it as a struggle for survival, you will have a very difficult time on your way, because things will not always go your way. Try applying the idea of life as a test to the problems you face. Instead of reacting to your problems, try to find some things you can learn from them. Ask yourself why this happened to me. What would it mean if I got through it? Would I look at it differently? Could I use it as a test for myself? You will be surprised at how your response changes. I used to struggle with how to manage my limited time. I was always rushing to get things done. I blamed my schedule, my family, my circumstances, everything. I was always stuck in the same rut. Until one day I began to realize that if I wanted to be happy, my goal was not necessarily to arrange my life perfectly so that I could have more time, but instead to think about whether I could stop at a certain point and still feel content instead of forcing myself to do everything. In other words, my real challenge was to see my time struggle as an experiment. By looking at it this way, my life did not become more perfect, but it did help me solve some of my most difficult problems. Now I still struggle with time sometimes, but I always feel comfortable and content with it. Here we would like to end this story. Thanks for listening.